Hello and good evening. I'm grateful to have you join us, and it's a good one. Now, if you can see me and watch me live, kindly share and let's make this go viral. Okay. All right. Good evening once again, and all right. Good evening once again, and it's a beautiful evening here, and we're going to be looking at family finance. Yeah, thanks to everyone who has made this easy for us and for me. And of course, we won't take this for granted, even though you choose to be anonymous. I want to say that it's a big step we've taken to try to discuss family finance. Yeah. Now, family finance is a big issue that a lot of us shy away from. You see, once we have started a family, we need to understand that life happens to a lot of us. There are a lot of times when life does not go the way we plan it. And on the event that things happen contrary to what we planned when we were starting out our marriage or family, on the event that something happens and things become tough economically, what should we do as a family? Should that break the family? Let me give you an instance. We have had situation where after marriage, people lose their jobs. We have had situation where people have issues, whether health or economic issues after marriage. Now, what do they do after marriage? What do they do with their family? Should we abandon the family simply because we now have an issue? Should we not be prepared for an event like that? Now, if at all we ever consider preparing ourselves for the financial future of our family, how do we do that? How do we ensure the security of our family finance? How do you ensure that no matter what happens, come rain, come shine, your family is protected? Now, protection means that there's always going to be shelter for your family. There's always going to be food on the table, at least the basic social amenities that you can still provide them no matter what is happening in your life or in the life of anyone at all in the family. Now, for reasons you may not know, there are times even extended family issues affect your own family, such that what you earn is now directed into solving issues that are not directly connected to your family, that is the nuclear family now. Now, should that affect our family? So, we are going to be looking at all of this. We may not be able to deal with it all today, but sure, it's going to be a continuous discussion as we have kickstarted this now. We hope that it's going to be a continuation and we have a lot of people come join this conversation and support this conversation as well. So, for the family to stand firm and function well as a family, it needs money. For it to remain well at all, The family needs money. Now, we're not talking about being thickly rich, having cars or fleets of cars or houses. We are looking at the basic social amenity, the basic things of life that make life at least comfortable. Now, we're also looking at it from an angle where, irrespective of what we're going through, whether a job loss, business, crisis, or economical issue, that your family is still able to feed. Your family is still able to stay under a roof, and you can still smile with them, irrespective of what we may be going through. So, for the family to be well at all, money has to be made. Yes, the money has to be made, money has to be kept, and there has to be an investment for the family. Now, you need to build your capacity to make money for the family. Now, making money for the family, for example, if you work already, what percentage of your money goes into protecting your family? Now, if you're looking at protecting your family, you have to have something we call an emergency fund for your family. Does anybody ever have something like that set aside for a rainy day? Who knows what can happen? You do not determine what tomorrow will look like, especially if you're a civil servant. No one knows. Anything can happen, and even government policies can change your income. What are you going to do? So, how do you make money enough to sustain the family? Are you going to depend on your job alone? Are you going to make extra income? And if you're going to make extra income, what are you going to be doing? Now, there are some of these issues that we shy away from even during courtship. Yes, we don't get to talk about finances. Even when someone is already working, it is not enough for us to just think that because someone has a job, and there is this thing about job security, especially when it is a government job, so you keep quiet about your finances. No, even when you earn money, things can still become tough if you do not have the understanding and the adequate knowledge of how to keep that money and multiply it. So even as a salary earner, you need to understand how to plan for your family. So what you're making, is it enough for the family? If it's not enough, how do you increase this income? If at all you want to increase, what exactly are you going to be doing? And when this money comes, because sometimes they don't come in one large chunk, how are you going to keep it and ensure that the money does not go as fast as it enters your hand or your pocket? What are you going to invest in? Now, these questions are things that a family, the husband and the wife, should sit down and talk about. How do we make more money? How much are we making? How do we keep this money? If we're going to keep it, in what manner? Who takes custody of this money? And what do we invest in? If we're going to do business at all, what kind of business should we be doing? Now, well, it's not compulsory that you have to do business if that's not your thing. If business is not your thing, but you should invest in things that can help you store money, store value, because these are the things you can always go back to every time you need money. For example, there are people who invest in some kind of maybe transport business that pay them either every week or on a daily basis. So this kind of people, if they have children already in school, that can take care of the small money they would need. Even if you gather the money you earn from your transport business, you could pay school fee and pay many other money we think are heavy on us. But you have to start that process. You have to discuss it. You have to understand that we need these things so that everybody is on the same page. The husband, the wife understand what the goal is. So that reminds me, as a family, you should have a money goal. Do you, as a husband, understand what you're working towards? When do you want to achieve certain amount of money? How much do you want to have as a family, and at what point do you want to have it? Let's say, for example, you married at 30, and then maybe your wife is a little less, your wife's age is a little less than yours. Now, by the time you are 50 or the marriage is 50 years old, what do you hope to see? Where will you be financially? Will you still be feeding from hand to mouth? If you have a child, or God blesses you with a child at that 30 or a little above, it means that by the time you are 50 or 50 something, your first child should be around 20 or so. Now, of course, do you know that as children grow older, they would need more? You spend more on them as they grow older. Now, if you're going to spend more, it means that you also need to make more money. Do you have that in your plan? So I'm just going to ask us a few questions tonight, so we start thinking about these questions while we continue to discuss these things one after the other. So, what happens as a family on the event that one of you loses his or her job? What happens to the family? Did you ever think about what can happen if the husband or the wife, whoever that's working among the two, or even the two of you, lose your current source of income? What can happen to the family? Can you sustain the family for another few years without a job? Now, you probably know what the answer is already, but then that's something you need to sit down and think about or talk about with your spouse so you can start planning towards it. Now, if you already have a job, I think that it's now wise for you to start planning immediately, so that there can always be an alternative. You always give your family an option on the event that you lose your main source of income. There's always another option, even if it's not as much as the main source. At least the family can still survive for a while before another one comes around. You always have something to rely on, however small. Another question is there any plan for protecting your current source of income? Look, many of us work maybe either for private companies or as a civil servant, you work for the government. Now, do you have any plan for protecting your income? Protecting your income, for example, now, you would need to probably get more qualification to be able to get promotion and also get pay rise. Do you have any plan for that? And how soon can that happen? Now, even when you work for the government policy or change of government can lead to non-payment of salaries, or even economic issues can lead to non-payment of salary. And when that happens, what do? Will you complain? Will you sit down at home and complain? Or just simply switch and do something else? So, how do you protect your income? What plans do you have to protect what's currently coming into your pocket? Can you save, or are you already saving from what you currently earn? Do not even tell me that things are hard. Everyone knows that things are hard. But from the little you earn, keep something for tomorrow. Anything can happen. You do not know what tomorrow brings. But if we are better prepared, tomorrow will meet us well. Do we follow? Do we understand? Okay, so question number 3 now. Start to plan your income from day one. Okay, if you've been working for a while now, let's say starting from today that we are talking about it, start to plan your income. How much do you get? How much goes to feeding? How much goes into your tomorrow, the tomorrow of your family? You're investing in something that will protect your family. Let me tell you something. See, we do not own our life. No one knows what can happen to us, even the next few minutes. So, if anything happened to either of the head of family, whether the husband or the wife, what happens to the children? Do we have any plan for that? So as a husband, yes, we all trust in God, right? But anything can happen. Do not leave your life to chance and just believe that everything's just going to remain the way it is. So should anything happen, what plans do you have on ground so that your children do not become beggars simply because you either lost your job or you know more, or even health issue prevents you from continuing on the job you currently have? And most times when we discuss issue like this, you hear people say, God forbid. See, nobody prays for trouble. Nobody prays for health issues. But if you don't have it as a result of one thing or the other, or lifestyle, old age will bring them. So now that we have the strength and we are working, it's best for us to plan for those days when we will not have job, when we will not have a lot of money, and when we will not have enough health on our side, like good health, to be able to do the things we currently do. So, what plans do we have, and have you started working towards protecting your income and also diversifying, yes, your income, however small? Let there be another source of income that is different from the main source of income, in case anything happens to the breadwinner, the one who brings that main source of income. There is always going to be an option for your family. I hope we get the gist. 4, can we also start with the thought that we will have money maybe after marriage? But that's being hopeful, right? That, okay, money is going to come, but how are you going to make this money? The husband and the wife have a job, but I want your source of money, your income, to be independent of whether the government or the company you work for. So get to a point in your life where you ensure that your source of income is independent of one person's decision. If the government decide to right size tomorrow, you are less concerned because you already have another source. So all you need to do is to now become very serious with that alternative source of income. And all of these have to be planned alongside with your spouse, because no one knows who will outlive who. But if everybody is in the picture, everybody understands the goal, and everybody knows how to continue, it will be very easy for your spouse or your kids to even continue whether you are here or not. And most importantly, sit down together as a family to talk about your money goals and money issues, so that even the children will understand that if there is money, they understand. If there is no money, let them understand too, and that if you have to adjust your lifestyle because of the present or current economic condition, let everybody know. You, the husband, does not try too much and excusing yourself and punishing yourself just to put food on the table. God bless all husbands that do that. But while going through it alone, let your wife know, let the children know. The pressure will be less when everybody is on the same page. And when there is a zero pressure, you find out that even the little you have will suffice because everybody understand and they manage well. But where you pretend and start trying to be the man, you're killing yourself. Or your spouse does not understand, so she does not manage whatever you bring to the table, because in her mind there's always going to be more. After all, that is the picture you're painting. Do we follow? So let me also ask us an important question. Where do you want to see your family in the next 10 years? Yeah, 10. You could put your own figure. 5 years from now, 10 years from now. If you already have kids, you know that 10 years from now, if they're in primary school, many of them will probably be in the university. And of course, that means more money. That means more expenses. So, where do you see your family 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Where do you see them financially? Where do you see them health-wise? Where do you see them in terms of making progress, shelter, and even knowledge-wise? What kind of family do you see yourself raising? Would you have achieved financial stability at at certain age? Put the figure yourself. 5 years from now, would you have gotten to a level when you can say, whatever happens, my family will cope? Whatever happens, my kids will cope? Whatever happens, they have the understanding of how to run and manage their own life because you have invested that much in them. Your family is a school, like one of the best school your spouse and your kids can attend. So it's now up to us to either make it that school or turn it to a garage where people garbage in and garbage out. And if your family is going to be your first and the most important school where you, your spouse, and the kids learn about life, money, and how to cope and engage with life, then we've got to be serious. And of course, we need money to make this happen. Oh, yeah, I see someone says 5 years from now, my family will all be multimillionaire. That is good. I like that. But then, what's the plan? So we are not just motivated unnecessarily. What is the plan? Do you have a careful plan of how you are going to make this happen? Look, now making them a multimillionaire in 5 years' time includes, it means that you would be deliberate about what they learn, how they see life, their mindset, the things they do, even the course they study. Look, many of the people we call multimillionaire today are very intentional about these things, about life, and about, how they succeed each other. So it makes it easy for them to have their son succeed them when they are going, because they have been raised to take over. So it's up to us, make the maths and then do the how. How are you going to make that happen? When your kids turn 10, 15, 20, 25, what plans do you already have in place? Because all of these affect our finances, and as they grow older, you spend more. Okay, quickly. Then the next question is, to start with, can you protect your family livelihood, like for the next, let's say, 2 years? Yeah. Work or no work. If you're currently doing something, supposing tomorrow you get to work and something happen, can you still protect your family for the next 2 years? You may not have a penny in your bank, but do you have the capacity to get out there and still fend for your family just the way you used to do? Now, these are questions you need to ask yourself as a man, and even your wife, to sit down together. Sometimes you wake that Mr. Husband, wake Mr. Wife, and have that discussion. Like, can we still feed for the next few months, 1 year, 2 years without this job? Do you have that capacity? If you don't, then it's time to start learning. And lastly, before we continue, what value are we putting in ourselves as husband and wife? Okay, here is what I mean. I've heard a lot of people say, if you allow your wife to know how much you earn, they are going to squander it because they are going to demand for a lot of things. Now, that's because of the way your belief system. That's because of your understanding. If you and your spouse understand that whatever you make is for the two of you, after all, the two of you are supposed to be one, right? So you are not two different individuals. So have that understanding first, that we are one. If we squander it, we go hungry. If it becomes better, we become better together and live the life of our dream. Do you even have a dream life, a dream home, a dream car, a dream vacation? Do you talk about that? This is not, forget your current status, forget your current financial status. These things can happen, but you need to be on the same page. You need to talk about it. That's the only time you can start working towards it, when you talk about it and everybody is on the same page. So for you to make this happen, you need to put that value in yourself first as husband and wife. I am not the only one reading stuffs. We read together. We discuss it together. When I'm discussing savings, she's not talking about spending. When I'm discussing budgeting, she's not thinking that I'm just one crazy and stingy human being. She's not calling me names because she understands that this is for us. So, before we talk about anything at all of these things have to be, put in place. You need to consider them and carefully talk about them. First, I talked about what happens on the event that you lose your job. And then the second thing I talked about was any plan for your income protection. And then the third thing I talked about was how to start to protect your income from day one. Start protecting your income from day one and putting something aside for the future from day one. The very first day you start earning money. And if you've not been doing it, today should be that day you start to do that. Start putting something aside. Even if it's not saving, invest in a business. Start selling something. Start exchanging a service for money. Do something that gives you more money apart from the job you currently do. And if you are even jobless, okay, it's not anything bad. Start thinking of what to do. Start thinking of what you can sell. Start thinking of learning a skill. You are never too old for anything. What you do not know is older and wiser than you. So the only time you can overtake and become older and wiser is when you decide to do something. So what plans do you have? There are no excuses. I don't have a job. You can learn. You can learn a skill. You can apply for jobs. You can leverage on your relationship with people to start selling something. Just do something. And then the first thing I talked about was starting. What are your thoughts about starting something after 2 years of your marriage? What are your thoughts about your finances and then your money issues? Or before you even go into it, the next 2 years, that's immediately after your marriage now. How do you do with your finances? Because usually it can be tough for people because you've had a lot of expenses and now you're starting to try to settle down and then continue your lives together, right? Then number 5, I talked about where you see yourself in the next few years. Number 6, I also talk about how you can start to protect your family livelihood. Okay, protecting your family livelihood irrespective of your condition or present condition. Whatever happens to you, you are sure that your family can cope. Number 7, yes, I talked about putting value in yourself, your spouse, and your kids, because these are the things that actually allow them to cope. You can leave millions of naira for your family. If they do not have the knowledge, the right understanding and knowledge, they will still squander it. So put value in them first. Discuss these things. Do not be the only one that go out there to learn about making money or starting a new business. Discuss them with your wife and your kids too. Who says you cannot discuss with them? Who says they won't understand? Who says they cannot do it even better than you do? So those were the first few things we talked about. Now, let's now go ahead to look at what you must do as a family. Now, as a family, it is very, very important, not even negotiable, that you have a saving. This kind of saving is called an emergency fund. An emergency fund, just as the name sounds, a fund you can always fall back on should anything happen. And sometimes it's not necessarily bad thing. An opportunity can come your way and you just feel, okay, let me invest this for my family. It could be that, okay, you just see an investment opportunity and you have this emergency fund lying there in the bank. Money in the bank doesn't grow. So you choose, okay, since you understand the business or the investment opportunity and you're sure that you can get a return, at least let's say 20 to 50% return on your money. Yes, you can put it there and then keep growing the money, but it is not for spending, it is for emergencies. So it is a taboo, it becomes a taboo to run your family without an emergency fund. You may not have a penny in your bank account, but you have something you can sell. You have something you can exchange for money should anything happen. And we are not praying for anything bad. As long as we live, good or bad, things will always happen in our life that require that we spend money. And you don't want to see yourself always at the mercy of other people before you can solve even the smallest issues in your family. That is no good way to run a family. That is like embarrassing oneself and his or her entire family before everybody. So protect your family from shame and have something set aside for them should anything happen, however small. Sometimes it's even better when you go to people and tell them, my family needs so amount of money. I have so amount. Please, can you help me with so and so to complete it? This is even fair compared to not having anything at all. So it is not economic issue. Joblessness is not a yardstick at all, because some things, for example, pregnancy, or you don't run around to start borrowing money because your wife is going to be delivered of a baby. Now, this might sound very harsh, but who cares? This is just me telling you the truth. You have several months to make that plan. 9 months is not a joke. So, are we going to say that for 9 months we were not aware, we're not sure that delivery will happen one day? So, why wait until the last day of the ninth month to start looking for people to assist you? It's very unwise, and it does not make you look like someone who is serious. If we really want to run our family, we need to assume the leadership position and do things the way they ought to be done. So, when you start from day one, save something, keep something aside, however small, so that even if we are going to borrow, at least not everything. You always find favor when you tell people that I need, let's say, 100,000 and I have 50,000 or 70,000 or even 40,000 than when you have nothing. No excuse at all. No one. People don't pity people who don't take their own life seriously or their own family seriously. Yes, we may have issues that will rob us of all of our money. That's understandable. But at least you have tried. You have started something. So, as a family, build an emergency fund together. You can decide to open an account, a joint account for the family, where it is a joint account because you and your spouse have an access to it. Or open an account in the name of one person, since it's a digital era and the two of you have access to it and know the detail of that account. Or Start a business where you and your spouse know about it and have access to either sell things from the business or get a return from the investment. So when you are not around, your spouse can continue to run these things, do these things, and assist the family without you. Are you not surprised that many people become widowed and life become, very, very hard because no one expects it, yes, but you plan for things should they happen. We do not own our lives. So you plan for these emergencies in case they happen. We have had people who believe that if anything happened to them, maybe the community they work for or the government will take care of their family or they'll pay their, is it allowances or what do they call it now? Gratuity and the rest of them, whatever that is due to them, but the family end up getting nothing. And then if it's the wife may be forced to remarry shortly after the death of the husband. Part of the reason is usually not for emotional issues. It's because they need someone to assist them with the kids financially, usually. So keep an emergency fund for your family. Grow it. Either keep money in the form of savings in the bank, but if you have a business or an idea or you know about an investment you can do, invest that money and do not spend the dividends you get or the return on the investment you get from there. No, as they're coming, allow it to compound. How do you compound? When you get the return, add it to the initial capital and put it back into it. It is for the family. Let it be there. So from that money, you can pay school fees, you can pay rent, you can buy educational materials. Even as children continue to grow, remember that it's an investment. It will also grow. That's a smarter way to take care of some issues as a family. But if you have not discussed this with your spouse or you do not even know how to go about it, what do you do? So I'm not going to talk about plenty of these things tonight, but this emergency fund, I want to see us start and do something about it. Then we take the rest of them gradually. Gradually, we'll talk about saving. We'll talk about budgeting. We'll talk about the investment. We'll talk about businesses you can start for your family or investment you can make for your family. So because of the importance of some of these things, I would want us to take them one after the other and discuss them in detail. Like budgeting can take us several hours. So back to our discussion. If you're looking at starting an emergency fund for your family, now look at what you earn. What percentage can you comfortably put aside without having to run there or worry about it or make make your family expense suffer? You can decide to do 10%. You can decide to do 5%. You can even decide to do lower, depending on what you earn. But it's a taboo not to do anything at all. Let's take, for example, you earn, let's say, 100,000 naira. I don't think it's too much if you want to put 10,000 naira aside. And if you can't do 10,000, you should be able to do 5,000. So if you put that aside for 1 year, that is 50,000. And that 50,000 after 1 year, you can remove it and put it in a business so that inflation will not rubbish the money in the bank. But you have to save first and allow it to accumulate a little before you remove and put it into a business or investment that you understand. I repeat, a business or an investment that you understand. If you don't understand the business and you're not sure that you will get the money back plus something on top, please leave the money in the bank. So if you're watching me right now, it becomes a taboo. It is a taboo for you not to have an emergency fund for your family. And like I said the other time, you don't have to have it in cash or in the bank. But if you have it and it has accumulated a little, you can remove it and put it in a business. And whatever you make from that business is not for you to spend. Return it, put it back in the business, let it grow, let the money grow. Keep it there. But every time you have issues, you can always run there to get some fund. I hope this makes a lot of sense and that we have picked something today. Yes, when we get back to the group, we'll continue the discussion there. I do not want to rush this. I'll let us know the next date for the next one. It could be maybe on next weekend. I would let us know, communicate that with us. But for now, one after the other, I would like that we implement whatever that is discussed here. Remember that the goal is to make the family strong, better, and happier. That is the goal. That's why it's even coming for free. But it's up to us what we choose to do. In case we need clarification on something, you need to consult for something you think that was not clear to you, feel free to chat me up on WhatsApp or drop questions here or on the WhatsApp group, and I would be glad to attend to it. And even as a family, we can start to plan our finances together. Let me know how I can come in and then help us make these plans happen. Thank you for joining. And I want to say that I wish all of us a very blissful night rest. See you in the WhatsApp group and bye for now.